guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, the Babbling Momshell. Today we are going to do my labor and delivery story. I'm super excited to tell you all about it. My due date was August 31st. I had him September 3rd at 5:11 in the morning via emergency C-section. He was 8 pounds, 1 ounce, and 20 inches, and just like, he was perfect. And I'm sure all moms say that about their kids, but like, no, there's nothing like it. Like having a child, there's nothing like it. I also want to let you know that there will be a TMI warning, because I mean, this is a labor and delivery story. It's not like the cleanest thing in the world, so definitely like be aware of that. And let's get So, like I said, Carter was due August 31st. They induced me on August 30th due to complications with his heart. Some know the story behind that, some don't. I might make a video on it, but there's so many people out there that know what's going on. I'm sure once I get more followers or subscribers or something like that, I'll definitely put that story out there. During my doctor's appointment on August 30th, I was told that I was going to be induced. And when I was told that I was going to be induced, Johnny was in DC picking up his parents from the airport. And so it, like, when I called him and told him, it sent him into like a frenzy, like, oh my god, like, we're having a kid. And I'm like, yeah, but I doubt it's gonna be today, like, so take your time, like, you know, get your parents from the airport, whatever. So I went ahead and went to labor and delivery, and around 6 p.m. they put Cervidil in. Cervidil, and this is where the TMI warning sits in. Cervidil is like a tampon string, and the end of it has medicine on it, basically, and for women who want to be induced, this is the crappy part. They put it in and it feels like sandpaper going in, and they wrap it around your cervix, and it's supposed to start helping thinning out your cervix. So that stays in for about 12 hours, and they took it out at 6 a.m. on August 31st and started me on Pitocin. This is the day my mom was flying in, and she had like the roughest time getting here. I'm sorry, Mom. I love you. During this day, nothing changed. I was on Pitocin for 12 hours and nothing changed. Pitocin is to kickstart your contractions and trick your body in, and as if it's going into labor. They went ahead that night and put me back on Cervidil again. So I got the second round of Cervidil, and it hurt so bad. And so now they left that in for 12 hours, and 6 a.m. the next day, they put me back on Pitocin. This is when things like started to hurt and be very painful and not enjoyable anymore. So during this day, my cervix and all that stuff went from 2 centimeters to 3, and I think I wind up being like 50% effaced. My best friend Haleyana and her mom showed up to the hospital, drove 16 hours from back at home to here to surprise me, and that was like crazy. And so I love them. Shout out to Haley and Haleyana's mama. Woo, woo. So on September 1st, nothing happened. Now, September 2nd is the fun day where everything happened besides having a kid. Everything else happened besides having a kid. At 6 p.m., they took me off of Pitocin, put me on Cervidil for a third time, like sandpaper. Ugh. And that was in for 12 hours. September 2nd, they started me back on Pitocin again. This is where contractions were just like, where I couldn't handle them anymore. So I told the doctor, I was like, look, I want you to give me my epidural, and I want you to break my water, because there's nothing happening, and I need something to start happening. He was like, I agree. So around 12, they gave me the epidural. And for all you moms who are wanting to get an epidural, I support either way. If you want to get natural or go natural, go natural. If you want to get an epidural, get an epidural, girl. It's whatever you want. Don't mom shame anybody because they might want one thing over the other. Every mom's different. Every person can handle pain differently. Every person has their own scientific reasons behind it. Whatever the case may be, don't mom shame, guys, because it's not worth it. Not worth it at all. Anyways, so I got the epidural though because my pain level was like skyrocketing. I felt like I was getting stabbed in the ovaries and I was like, I'm not doing this no more. Give me drugs. So they gave me the epidural, and only thing I can compare it to, really can't even compare it to anything, but what it feels like is like they have a pin and they numb you, and all you feel is a pin going in your back, and it's just a lot of pressure, like just like I just got goosebumps because it's just so much pressure. So after they went ahead and put my epidural in, I went ahead and had my water broken. That just feels like a gush of water coming out, but you can't even feel, when after you have your epidural in, you can't even feel your legs. You can't tell that you're peeing, none of that stuff. So all it felt for me was like my stomach deflating. So my stomach basically felt like not as tight. So yeah, that was nice. So they did that around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. At this point, I'm still on Pitocin. They went ahead and checked my cervix again at 6 p.m. and I was only 4 centimeters. So even after breaking my water, putting an epidural in, my body is still not wanting to like go into labor. After 3 rounds of Cervidil, 2 rounds of Pitocin, like my body just was not wanting to get this baby out, or Carter was not wanting to come out. I don't know what it was, but anyways, so around 12 a.m. on September 3rd, technically, they checked me again and I was finally moving along and I was 6 centimeters, and the doctors were like all excited about it. They were like, heck yeah, like we're finally getting something, we're going. You know, my cervix was almost completely thinned out at this point. He had dropped majorly down into the birth canal, and so it finally seemed like we were about to have a baby. Around 2 in the morning, my chest just like felt like there was someone sitting on it and I couldn't breathe. I was having a really hard time. Around 3 a.m. they went ahead and put me on oxygen. And at 4 a.m. they checked me again and I still wasn't showing any signs of progressing more than 6 centimeters. And at this point I started running a fever at 102, and they started me on fluids to try to get that down because that means that I was getting an infection. And at this point my water had been broken for way over 12 hours. Well, when they checked me at 4 a.m., the reason why they checked me is because every time I was having a contraction, Carter's heart rate was dropping. The doctor came in and told me that I was having an emergency C-section. That was probably the scariest thing that I've ever been through. Oh my god. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. No, no, no. Just knowing Carter's condition and what my body was doing to him, and how everything was reacting, it like put me into like, oh. So anyways, the doctor came in, said that I was gonna have to have an emergency C-section, and this was around probably 4:20 in the morning. And I was in the OR by 4:44, and 4 is my favorite number, so it was like, what a coincidence. Like, this is either going to be like a really bad thing, or like this is going to be really good and everything's going to be perfectly fine from here on out. So going into the OR, it's literally like Grey's Anatomy. Like, you're going in and I'm on like the bed and they have me spread out like Jesus on the bed, and like I'm shaking because of all of the anesthesia medicine and stuff like that, and like the doctor's like poking my stomach, like, can you feel this? Can you tell that I'm poking your stomach? And I'm like, no, like I'm not even freaking worried about that right now, like even though I probably should be, but I'm like shaking. So at this point, Johnny had to go get into scrubs. That's so he could come in and sit next to me by my head and like cheer me on through it. So anyways, he gets in there. They put the curtain up, and I'm shaking, and everyone's like, all you see is tools and this, that, and the other. And I look up, and like there's that huge, like, what is it called? It's the huge light that they use, and it's silver plated. So when you look up, all you see is like back down, because silver plated stuff reflects. And all of a sudden, I just see the doctor's hand and the scalpel go, and then just red. And I was just like, oh my God. And I look at Johnny, and I'm like shaking, and he's like, he like looks up, and he looks over the curtain, and he's just like, you just see his face go, yeah. And so I look at the anesthesiologist and said, look, tell me some stuff that a lot of people don't know. Like, tell me some fun facts, get me through this, because we got to get through this together, because I don't think I'm going to make this. When they took him out, they held him over the curtain, and I got to see him, and then he got washed up a little bit. Johnny brought him over, and I got him on my chest for, I feel like it wasn't even like 10 seconds. It was enough to get us some pictures, and he had to go straight to the NICU because of his heart. So after the C-section is all done and over with, you get put in the recovery room. You're in the recovery room for like, I think, like 2 hours. I'm not sure. A lot of moms at this point, if your baby isn't going to NICU or somewhere else for whatever reason, this is when you kind of get to hold the baby for the first time with, of course, supervision, because you're still like shaking a lot and stuff. After the recovery room, you get to go to mommy and baby, and that's when the baby gets to usually stay in your room with you. In my case, since Carter had to go straight to the NICU, I didn't get that luxury. I actually had, I think, 9 hours. It was like 7, 8, or 9 hours until everything wore off, and I had to walk myself to a wheelchair to be able to go into the NICU and see him. So I didn't get to really see him until like probably like 1 in the afternoon or something like that. So I am super, super blessed with the doctors that I had at Mary Washington and the experience that I had. It wasn't the best experience, that, you know, everything didn't go perfectly as planned, but in my life, like, what does? Like, nothing goes perfectly as planned. Like, everything is always the hardest route, but I think that's just because, you know, I know a lot of people might not be religious, but God's not going to throw something at me that he doesn't think I can't handle. So why not get me to go through it and share it with you guys. So that was my labor and delivery story. If you have any questions about anything, comment below. Like and subscribe. Share with your friends and families. Share with all other moms out there. I probably will be sharing my postpartum story and how I did have the baby blues for about a week, how I got through that and stuff like that. So, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks, guys.